Daddy, please, don't leave me. Not today. Not like this. Those were the last words Lena Hart, 8 months pregnant, whispered into her father's chest as the machines around him screamed and then went silent. But less than 24 hours later, while her father's grave dirt was still wet beneath her fingernails, her husband was standing in a courthouse hallway, smiling, signing a marriage license to marry the woman who had whispered, finally, when Lena's father stopped breathing. And what neither of them knew was that the man they buried as a school janitor had just made his daughter the wealthiest woman in the room. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Lena hadn't moved from that plastic chair in nearly 18 hours. Her fingers were numb, locked around her father's hand, as if holding him tightly enough could keep him here. Daniel Hart. To the world, just another quiet custodian at a public middle school. Lay beneath thin white sheets, his skin pale, his chest rising unevenly. The disease had come without warning. Not cancer. Not something slow. It was Creutzfeldt-Jakob, like prion degeneration, a rare, fast-moving neurological disorder. One day he'd been fine. 3 weeks later, his brain was shutting down. Doctors called it catastrophic. Lena called it cruel. Her phone buzzed. A text from her husband. Mark, still at the hospital. I'm slammed at work, might stay at Tyler's tonight, big pitch tomorrow. Her father was dying, and her husband couldn't be bothered. She turned the phone face down and leaned closer. I'm here, Daddy, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. Daniel's eyes fluttered open. Still sharp. Still her father. Lena. His voice sounded like it hurt to exist. I need you to listen. Don't talk, she cried. Save your strength. No, baby, there's no time. His grip tightened, shockingly strong. Closet, bedroom, old Timberland box, false bottom. Her heart started pounding. There's a key, safety deposit box, Liberty Federal Bank, box 7719. What? She whispered. You'll understand later. His breathing stuttered. Promise me something. Anything. Don't tell anyone. Not Mark. Not anyone until you know the truth. Her stomach twisted. I promise. He stared at her, fear in his eyes, not of death, but of leaving her unprotected. I changed my will 3 weeks ago, he said. I saw it coming. Saw what? The way your husband looks at you now. Lena froze. Like you're an expense. A burden. The monitors began screaming. A nurse rushed in. Daniel shook his head weakly. No machines. Just my daughter. The room emptied. Silence fell heavy. Daniel smiled, soft, peaceful. You know what the best day of my life was? Lena shook her head through tears. The day I chose love over everything else. His breath rattled. My real name was never Daniel Hart. Her mind spun. I was born Elliot Blackwell IV. The name meant nothing to her, but it would soon mean everything. I walked away from billions, he whispered. From a dynasty because I wanted a real life. Lena sobbed. You were never poor, baby girl. I was protecting you. The machines flatlined. Daniel Hart, Elliot Blackwell IV, was gone, and Lena collapsed onto his chest. She didn't hear the door open. Didn't hear the nurse return. Didn't hear anything, except the silence where her father used to be. Her phone buzzed again. Mark, we are grabbing drinks after. You okay? Her father had been right. She finally saw it. Rain soaked the cemetery. Lena stood trembling, one hand on her swollen belly, the other clutching her father's jacket. 30 people attended. That was it. Mark stood beside her, but held the umbrella only over himself. He checked his phone. Sighed. When the coffin lowered, Lena felt something tear inside her. After the service, Mark leaned in. I have to head out, client thing. Her voice came out hollow. You're leaving. Just for a bit. He kissed her forehead, cold, rushed, and walked away, not once looking back. That night, Lena sat alone in her father's apartment. Her phone lit up. Instagram notification. Tagged photo. Her heart sank. Mark, at a rooftop restaurant. His arm wrapped around a woman in a red silk dress. Caption: New beginnings with the right energy. Veronica Lane. Veronica, his senior marketing director. The affair hadn't started recently. It had been going on for months. While Lena was pregnant. While her father was dying. She threw up in the sink. Then stared at herself in the mirror. Broken. Alone. And suddenly resolved. Tomorrow she would go to the bank. Mark arrived the next morning with a folder. I want a divorce. Less than 24 hours after her father's burial. I'm not happy anymore, he said flatly. I need someone on my level. She showed him the Instagram photo. He didn't deny it. She's ambitious, he said. She understands success. And I do. You're comfortable. That hurt more than anything. He left the papers and walked out. An hour later, Lena stood inside Liberty Federal Bank. I need safety deposit box 7719. The teller froze. Called the manager. The room changed. When the box opened, Lena's hands began to shake. Because inside wasn't just a letter. It was a fortune. And a truth that would destroy everyone who betrayed her. The room was silent except for Lena's breathing. Her hands hovered over the contents of safety deposit box 7719, fingers trembling so badly she had to grip the edge of the table to steady herself. Inside wasn't cash. It was worse. It was proof. Folders thick, meticulously organized. Stock certificates. Trust deeds. International account summaries. Property titles spanning multiple countries. Numbers so large her brain rejected them. At the very top lay a handwritten letter, folded carefully, addressed in familiar ink. My baby girl. Lena broke. Tears spilled freely as she unfolded the page. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and I'm sorry I didn't get to explain this to your face. But you needed protection more than explanations. The world is about to show you who people really are. Especially your husband. Her breath caught. I saw the way he looked at you. Like love had turned into math. So I made sure that when he leaves, because he will, he leaves with exactly what he deserves. Nothing. Lena pressed her hand against her belly. I'm listening, Daddy, she whispered. Everything in this box is yours. Not because you need money, but because I need you safe. The assets are held in an irrevocable trust, structured so no spouse, present or future, can ever touch them. Not through divorce. Not through court. Not through manipulation. Her chest tightened. Total valuation at time of writing. $5.1 billion USD. Lena's vision blurred. 5.1 billion. The man who packed her lunches in brown paper bags. who worked night shifts scrubbing hallways, who wore the same boots for 10 years. A trillionaire's heir. She turned the page. I didn't leave this world poor, baby girl. I left it prepared. Now breathe. Cry. And when you're ready, stand up. The letter ended with 3 words she knew by heart. Trust the plan. A business card slid from the folder. Blackwell and Ashcroft, LLP. Lena stared at the name. Blackwell. Her phone felt impossibly heavy in her hand as she dialed. Blackwell and Ashcroft, a calm male voice answered. This is Henry Ashcroft. My name is Lena Hart, she said shakily. My father was Daniel Hart. A pause. Then something shifted. Miss Blackwell, the man corrected gently. We've been expecting your call. Her knees buckled. I don't understand. You will, he said. And I'm so sorry for your loss. Your father was extraordinary. They scheduled a meeting for the next morning. When Lena hung up, she sat there for nearly an hour, staring at the documents. Mark had divorced her thinking she was nothing. And she had let him. That evening, Lena returned home. The divorce papers still sat on the kitchen table. She read them slowly now, not as a victim, but as someone who finally understood leverage. Mark had been generous on paper. Child support. A clean split. No contest. Because he thought there was nothing to contest. Lena picked up a pen and signed every page. Mark lifted his champagne glass. To freedom, he said, smiling at Veronica. She clinked glasses with him in their hotel suite overlooking the city. You did the right thing, she purred. She was dragging you down. Mark nodded, relief washing over him. Now we can finally build something real. Veronica laughed softly. She was never your future. Mark believed her. That night, they didn't talk about Lena. They didn't talk about the baby. They talked about money, about promotions, about lifestyle. They had no idea they were already standing on a trapdoor. The next morning, Lena entered a glass tower downtown. No janitor floors here. Just quiet power. Henry Ashcroft stood as she entered, silver-haired, kind-eyed. You look exactly like him, he said softly. He introduced her to the team. Financial advisors, accountants, trust officers. They didn't speak down to her. They spoke to her. Over the next 3 hours, Lena learned the truth. Her father hadn't just inherited money. He had grown it. Quietly, relentlessly, ethically. He owned controlling interests in renewable energy firms, agricultural tech companies, logistics networks, urban real estate. Not flashy wealth, unshakable wealth. And 3 weeks before his death, after Mark visited him in the hospital. He came here, Henry said carefully. Your husband. Lena stiffened. He complained about hospital costs, about timing, about how the pregnancy was complicating things. Her nails dug into her palm. He asked whether your father had life insurance. Lena closed her eyes. The next morning, Henry continued. Your father restructured everything. Henry slid one final document toward her. Your father predicted the divorce down to the week. Lena let out a shaky laugh. He always was good at reading people. 3 days later, Mark's phone rang during a meeting. Unknown number. He ignored it. It rang again. Annoyed, he stepped into the hallway. Yes, Mr. Carter, a woman said crisply. This is regarding your pending divorce settlement. What about it? There's been a revision. Mark frowned. Revision. Your ex-wife has full legal protection under a trust structure that predates your marriage. Silence. I don't understand. You were never entitled to any portion of her estate, the woman continued, because the estate predates your awareness of its existence. Mark's stomach dropped. What estate? Another pause. Then, the Blackwell Trust. His blood went cold. That's not possible, he whispered. It's very possible, she replied. And very final. The line went dead. Mark stood there, heart pounding. Blackwell. Why did that name sound familiar? Veronica found out the next day. She was scrolling LinkedIn when she saw it. A press release. Blackwell Foundation announces new director, Lena Blackwell. Her breath caught. That's not, she muttered. She clicked. Read. And read again. Her hands began to shake. Mark, she called. He came running. What? She turned the screen toward him. His face drained of color. That's Lena. Veronica laughed, sharp, hysterical. No, that's impossible. But it was. The article listed numbers. Endowments. Assets. Billions. You told me she was broke, Veronica whispered. Mark couldn't speak. You told me she needed you. The room felt too small. She was poor, he said weakly. Her dad was a janitor. Veronica stared at him like he was a stranger. You divorced a billionaire. They still went through with the wedding. Pride demanded it. But the joy was gone. At the courthouse, Veronica smiled for photos, but her eyes were glassy. As they exited, her phone buzzed. A message from a colleague. Is it true your husband's ex-wife runs the Blackwell Trust? Another. Wild story, sorry you're caught in it. Another. Did you really marry the guy who left a pregnant billionaire? Veronica's hands shook. Mark tried to take her hand. She pulled away. They reached the parking garage. Concrete walls. Echoing footsteps. Veronica stopped walking. Oh my God, she whispered. Mark turned. She looked at him, really looked. You didn't just leave her, she said. You misjudged her. Her voice rose. You let me believe I was upgrading. Her breath hitched. I thought I won. Then it hit her. The reality. The ridicule. The headlines that would follow. And Veronica screamed. A raw, animal sound. You left a billionaire. You divorced a billionaire for me. Her voice bounced off the walls. People turned. Phones came out. What have we done? She sobbed. Mark stood frozen. And in that moment, everything he had built collapsed. Upstairs, in a quiet office filled with sunlight, Lena rested her hand on her belly. She wasn't angry. She wasn't celebrating. She was ready. Because the money was only the beginning. And the plan her father set in motion was just getting started. The envelope arrived on thick, cream-colored paper. Veronica noticed it first. Embossed lettering. Old money elegance. She frowned as she read it. The Blackwell Foundation cordially invites you to an intimate reception, celebrating women, legacy, and leadership. The Hamilton Room, October 15, 7:00 p.m. Her pulse quickened. This wasn't just any charity. The Blackwell Foundation was everywhere now. News articles, podcasts, LinkedIn praise. And the guest list. Executives, politicians, investors. This could be good for us, Veronica said carefully, showing it to Mark. For me, she added. Mark hesitated. Something about the name still made his stomach twist. But pride won. Go, he said, show them who you are. Neither of them noticed the final line at the bottom of the invitation. Founder and director, Lena Blackwell. Lena stood in front of the mirror, smoothing the emerald green maternity gown over her belly. 7 months pregnant. Stronger than she'd ever been. She didn't look like a woman who'd been abandoned. She looked like a woman who had survived something sacred. Henry Ashcroft stood nearby. You don't have to do this, he said gently. I know, Lena replied. But my father believed in clarity. She touched the diamond earrings at her ears, her grandmother. Tonight isn't about humiliation, she continued. It's about truth. Henry smiled knowingly. That was always his way. The Hamilton room glowed. Crystal chandeliers. Soft strings playing. Quiet conversations that moved markets. Veronica entered first, confident, composed, scanning the room. Mark followed, visibly uneasy. This place, he muttered, feels expensive. Veronica laughed under her breath. Try to keep up. They took champagne flutes from a passing server. Then Veronica froze. Across the room. Emerald green. Calm posture. Hand resting protectively over a pregnant belly. Lena. Not the woman Mark had left. Not the woman he'd pitied. Someone else entirely. Mark's breath caught. That's not. Yes, Veronica whispered. That's her. Before Mark could speak, a man stepped onto the small stage. Henry Ashcroft. Ladies and gentlemen, he said smoothly. Thank you for being here tonight. The room quieted. I'd like to introduce the woman whose vision made this foundation possible. Every light shifted. Please welcome Ms. Lena Blackwell. Lena stepped forward. Applause rippled through the room. Mark felt dizzy. Veronica's glass slipped from her fingers and shattered softly on the floor. Lena waited for silence. Then she spoke. 3 months ago, she said evenly. I lost my father. The room softened. He worked as a janitor at a public school. He believed in quiet dignity, in doing good work without needing applause. Mark couldn't breathe. What I didn't know, Lena continued, was that before becoming a janitor, my father walked away from a family fortune because he chose love over legacy. A murmur moved through the crowd. He raised me to believe wealth is not what you have, but what you protect. Her eyes found Mark. Not accusatory, just factual. When my father died, she went on. I was pregnant, grieving, vulnerable. Veronica felt her chest tighten. And the man I was married to, Lena said calmly, decided that was the moment to leave. The room went still. He told me I wasn't enough, that he needed someone more successful. A pause. So I let him go. Lena lifted her glass slightly. Because when someone leaves you at your lowest, they are making space for who you're meant to become. The applause was thunderous. Mark felt something crack inside him. People turned. Whispers spread. Phones came out. Veronica felt eyes on her. Judging. Calculating. Understanding. She's talking about us, she hissed. Mark couldn't respond. Because he finally understood. Lena wasn't exposing them. She didn't need to. The truth was enough. Veronica leaned close, voice shaking. She's not angry, she whispered. That's worse. The reception ended with congratulations and pledges. Investors lined up. Leaders asked for meetings. Lena smiled politely, never once looking back. Mark tried to approach. Henry intercepted him. Mr. Carter, Henry said pleasantly. She's not available. Mark swallowed. Just tell her. She already knows, Henry replied. In the parking garage. Again. Concrete walls. Echoing shame. Veronica ripped off her wedding ring. I can't do this, she sobbed. My name is ruined. You pushed me, Mark snapped weakly. She laughed bitterly. No, she said. You were weak before I ever met you. She threw the ring at him. I thought I was stealing a future. Turns out I married a mistake. She walked away, leaving Mark alone. Again. That night, Lena stood by the window of her apartment. City lights below. Her baby kicked gently. You see that, Daddy, she whispered. They left on their own. She felt no victory, only peace, because she hadn't won by destroying them. She won by becoming unreachable. But the story wasn't over yet, because Mark still had one thing left to lose. And Lena was about to show the world what legacy really means. Mark didn't sleep that night. He sat alone in the dark apartment that had once felt like a victory, now just a hollow echo chamber of bad decisions. His phone buzzed non-stop. Not support. Not concern. Questions. Is it true? Did you really leave her while she was pregnant? Why didn't you know who her father was? By morning, the whispers had turned into consequences. HR called him in. Not to fire him. Worse, to distance the company. His leadership credibility was under review. Clients were uncomfortable. The affair, the timing, the optics, too ugly. Mark finally understood something Lena had already learned. Power doesn't scream. It moves quietly. 2 weeks later, Lena went into labor. No press. No announcements. Just a quiet hospital room and one trusted nurse. When the baby cried for the first time, Lena sobbed, not from pain but relief. She's beautiful, the nurse whispered. Lena held her daughter close. Welcome to the world, Amara James Blackwell, she said softly. Your grandfather loved you before you were born. She pressed a kiss to her daughter's forehead. In that moment, the billions didn't matter. The betrayals didn't matter. Only this did. Henry Ashcroft visited the next day. Are you sure? He asked gently. Lena nodded. I am. Mark was informed through attorneys that he would be allowed supervised visitation. Not because he deserved it, but because Amara deserved the chance to know her father. Henry studied her. You're kinder than most. Lena shook her head. No, she said. I'm free. Veronica left the city. Boston. New job. Smaller title. No red carpets. No champagne. Everywhere she went, she carried the weight of being that woman. She learned something too late. Winning at someone else's expense is never a real win. Sunlight spilled across a familiar schoolyard. Children laughed. Parents chatted. And a little girl with bright eyes and tight braids skipped toward the entrance. Mommy, Amara called. Watch me. Lena smiled. I see you, baby. A man stood a few steps away. Mark. Older. Quieter. Humbled. She's incredible, he said softly. Yes, Lena replied. She is. He hesitated. I was wrong. Lena didn't respond. Because she didn't need to. Her life was already full. Later that day, Lena walked through the halls of the same school where her father once worked. A plaque hung near the entrance. The Daniel Hart Center for Student Support. Quiet service, lasting impact. Amara traced the letters with her finger. That was Grandpa. Yes, Lena said. He believed helping people mattered more than being seen. Amara nodded seriously. I want to help people too. Lena knelt and hugged her. You already are. That night, Lena sat alone on her balcony. City lights glowing. Her daughter asleep inside. Her phone buzzed with one last message from an unknown number. I finally understand what I lost. Mark. She read it once, then deleted it. Not out of anger, out of closure. Because the greatest lesson her father ever taught her wasn't about money. It was this. You don't prove your worth to people who walk away. You live so well that their absence no longer matters. Lena looked up at the sky. I trusted the plan, Daddy, she whispered. And you were right. If you've ever been abandoned at your lowest, if someone walked away when you needed them most, if you were told you weren't enough, remember this. Sometimes the people who leave you are clearing the path for the life you were always meant to live. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's peace. It's legacy. It's living well. Thanks for listening.